When we talk about startups, we most commonly think about garage and creating some breathtaking technology, possibly innovation that may disrupt the market. Yet we may oversee what startup and startup culture is bringing to the table. In this panel, we're going to talk about different players in the startup funding ecosystem, readiness advice for startups, and building startups culture as an asset. Our panelists are Davor Sakac, CEO at DSC Fund, Drazen Orescanin, President of the Board at Poslovna, Inteligencija and Incubator, and Nebojsa Bjelotomic, Director at Digital Serbia Initiative and DCI Business Angel. Thank you guys for being here with us. And let's start with a little bit unexpected question. If you met a prospective or a good startup prospect, how would you describe yourself to that person? I mean, let's say in one sentence. What would you say? Why would they work with you?
Show me your business potential. Yeah.
But I'm saying
how we could get the money together.
Okay, that'll be your sentence.
Yeah. Apply for the incubator.
Okay.
Corporate experience with money to support it.
And you think they will bite that? They will say, yes, I want to work with you.
They already do.
I think that both of us must, pass through this process.
Yes, I think we have really good teams in the incubator, and I think this relationship is beneficial both for the incubator and for the teams in the incubator.
You have, Drazen, 13 teams, if I understand correctly, in your incubator. Can you give us an example? I mean, to just tell us what kind of startups are there?
So this is like incubator that is specialized for AI and advanced analytics. We started in February, and so half of the teams are from Croatia. We are based in Zagreb in Croatia, and half are from rest of the world. So we have teams from India, Belgium, Slovakia, Denmark, US, Germany.
And what kind of stuff are they making, are they preparing?
So the rule is that they need to be in incubation phase, so they still are developing the product, and the result should be MVP and reasonable business plan at the end of the program. And the second rule is to have actually product that is either based on creative and innovative use of existing AI technologies, or they are developing some core AI algorithms, and they are doing different stuff. So from AI application for longevity and customized fermented drinks that are ideal to make people live 200 years. We have a team that is working on new technology for autonomous driving. We have a team that is working on sport equipment that is tracking everything that players in different sports do, but on hardware and platform that is budget friendly and can be used massively, and not only for top teams. And basically every team is working in some different area, but a lot of them, they have really huge potential. They already received seed investments, and we are continuously receiving new applications, because with the environment that we have and knowledge of our mentors and the technology infrastructure that we are providing, use of free resources by our technology partner, we have really unique proposal in whole Europe.
Nebojsa, you had your first angel investment, I think, 2 months ago in Tapni. Why did you choose that one?
Actually, the first one was several months before that in Joberti. but it's okay. Your question was what we give them. And usually when you meet a startup, you meet the people who have an excellent idea how to fix something or excellent knowledge about certain technology. And then they meet the world. Then they meet the problem of commercialization, because the story about startup is not about technology. It's about the people who want to give money for their technology. And usually founders are very often limited in knowledge of how to present their product, their technology, their services to the world, and even less how to take the money for it. So what they need from these early investments, seed investments, the way they're called, is not just knowledge about, not just funds, but knowledge actually how to make these funds increase the value of their technology and their products and their company. Yes, the first investment was this summer, second one was September, and this market for a very long time had a gap in these seeding rounds, which is $50K to several $100,000. You have a lot of money around us in the world for the VC level, meaning several million. You can relatively easy even find these, let's say, pre-seed amounts of tens of thousands to get your concept to MVP level. But to get from MVP to VC level, which means that you need to do some traction, meaning you need to find your first customers, you need to have the first contracts, you need to start your sales engine going. The funds were missing for that, and we tried to do something about it. And this year, I think on this market we did okay, and now we have the engine that will churn and find these guys and prepare them for Davor and the crew, and in that way find this deal flow in Serbia at least, or surrounding, in a way that we can have startups climb the ladder faster than before, which is the whole idea, and in order to show what is good, what is not good, because in the startup world, the key is not to actually have the best technology, is to have the technology that somebody wants to pay. And that's the difference. And this is something that is like a learning experience for both founders and the first investors, to explain to them that it's not what you think or what your mom or your girlfriend think about you and your company. It's what your first customer think about your company, and are they willing to become this first customer who is reference and who can help you get to the next customer, so that you have enough customers that VC wants to give you money so that you can go regional or global or whatever is your goal.
So you wouldn't count if my relatives are my first customers?
Depend what your relatives' line of business is. I don't discount them for being your relatives. If they are, if they pay with the currency.
You mean if they're ready to pay for
Exactly.
for my service, whatever I do? I mean, if they want to buy, then you can consider them as a customer.
If they're not in this 3F, friends, family, and fool group, meaning give you money because they like you, if they are really paying customers, then I count them. If they're like, I give you to Zoran because he's a nice guy, then I don't count them.
Yeah, Davor, you're still waiting for your first startup to start investing, and so when can we expect that you will get? From what I understand, Nebojsa should send you somebody to work with.
Everybody sends us leads. Basically, just the first sentence about the TS Venture. We have 2 first and 1 second, connected with our venture fund. We are the first official venture fund here in Serbia, established with accordance with the new law of alternative investment fund, and that gives us a chance to attract more investors from abroad to invest in our economy, in our country. The second first is that we are the first CVC, corporate venture capital fund, in whole region. And there's some kind of trend in the world. All the biggest company in the world established their venture fund because they want to invest in the future technology, and as a Google, Microsoft, BMW. And the second, we are the second CVC from the field of business of telco industry. the Deutsche Telekom, they established their own venture capital fund. And that's the answer who we are. The second thing, we already start with searching for some good opportunity for the investment, and we have more than 250 applications on our website until now, and some of these proposals are very good with huge potential. I think that we'll call more than 30% of them to pitch. And on the other side, we watch the market. We know which startups offer today on the market, and definitely we will call all of them just to see what is our opportunity to cooperate with them, to invest in the money. I think that all of us, we have one problem here in our ecosystem, because I think that we must educate everyone what the startup is, the common people, because the definition of startup is not easy to understand what is the business which we want to support. And from the end, they must be innovative, disruptive, globally scalable. They must be digital. And definitely, this is the 4 keywords what every startup must have if they want to get the money from my fund, for example. And the concrete answer on your question, in next few months, I expect that we'll invest our first money in the first startup.
But where can they learn all of that? I mean, if there are just a couple of people.
That's the role of all of us in our ecosystem, from the angle of the digital Serbia and stakeholders, environment, government, incubators, venture funds, all of the participators in this circle must educate. We are learning every day about the business, what the business is, potential, and that's the process. We are on the beginning, and I think that we have very good perspective.
If I can jump in here, you have a quite developed so-called infrastructure support for startups in Serbia. Now, for the last 10 years, it's been building, and at this point, there are several places you can go. If you have idea, you believe you want to be a startup founder, you can either go to ICT Hub, you can go to Impact Hub, you can go to Iskra. So you have these incubators who can teach you some of these skills that we mentioned. More and more, we are influencing the let's say, traditional academia to have these classes, entrepreneurship classes. And there will be more and more of that on Belgrade University, Niš University, Novi Sad University. So we are trying to raise the level of knowledge in entire society about these 4 things, about capacity to scale up, be global, be innovative, be digital. So this is something that a lot of people is already doing. We see this as an engine for creation of new jobs. And it's an engine of creation of new companies that can attract and hold the talent, because a lot of the stuff that we are discussing, if your company is global and your markets are all the markets in the world, then why not live in Belgrade? That should be the pitch that we give to talented people about why startup in Serbia versus startup somewhere else.
So if you want to say, if I have a good idea, and let's say, and I work with a couple of friends, and we want to do something, there's not a problem for someone to teach us how to get from that idea to the startup. I mean, to create something that we can call startup, and then when we achieve some level, we can approach you guys.
Yeah, sure. You have already places I mentioned that you go there with your concept. They help you get from concept to MVP, and then you approach one of us or just us, and then later on, when you have a first customer, you approach Davor, and you now have the entire infrastructure available. If you are a manager who sees that in your area of expertise there is some inefficiency, and you think that by automation or by digitalization you can solve the inefficiency, there's a lot of programmers who can help you get this to the level of MVP. And then all you together, and you already, if you are together, you're already co-founders, can go to one of the incubators and start building your company, and everything is needed about your company.
Okay, what is the ratio of the success, not from the startups who are becoming something, but from those ideas, embryos, who are to become startups. Drazen, how many people, I mean, how many startups have approached you, and how many of them did you pick up to say, I'll give you a chance?
So I think from the start that we had in February, we had, I think, about 40 applications. We choose 17 teams. Some of those teams were not in the field that we are doing, and some of them were not in the proper phase. So some of those guys, we just they asked, okay, we have the finished product and we are in the market, but we need to find a way how to approach customers. So it's acceleration phase. So we route them to other partners who are accelerators. And basically, out of those 17 teams, 4 were not successful. So they were trying to do this as another project in parallel with their existing jobs. So that was not really good way to succeed.
How long do you give them? I mean, before you say, guys, this is not going to work.
So it's.
I mean, it was a couple of months or what?
Yeah. So actually, we have a very simple program. So program lasts 6 months, and the important thing about the program is that there is no program. So you don't have like standard lectures that somebody will teach you about the finance, about HR, about entrepreneurship. No, you just have 70 mentors who are super experts in their respective fields. And basically, when we identify with the team what is needed for them and what is missing, actually they have one-to-one work with mentors. And every month there is like status session where all the startups have. So in this time it's a Zoom meeting. Every startup presents what they have done in previous month and what they are planning to do next month. And actually, if in 2 months somebody doesn't have any progress, if he doesn't work with mentors, you can see that they will not do anything. And when 6 months of the program passes, they just dissolve. And the guys who are really working, who are really progressing, who are working with mentors, each month they have something new, and within a few months they are able to raise seed investments. So basically, out of 13 teams that we now have, 4 as alumni and 9 still in the incubator, 3 of them have already received significant investment, plus 1 is already funded by their parent company in Germany.
So out of those 23 that you signed off, I mean, was that immediate decision? You just saw that this is not going to work, or they're not ready, or they are not mature at all, or what?
So when somebody applies for the incubator, we organize a call with them where they need to pitch to us from the incubator, plus mentors who are interested to see them. When you apply, then you describe what you are doing, what is the team, and stuff like that. And basically, after this first call, we usually have some additional questions and give them some additional stuff to do and prepare. Then we have a second call, and after the second call, we make usually the decision. But this decision is a very informed decision because we have mentors from all the areas who are experts in area where some startup is doing its product. So if they are doing product that is related to NLP and sentiment analytics, we really have few people who are experts in that area, who worked, I don't know, in Styria, or graduated and have masters on Oxfords in that area, in that area, and they really can say, okay, those guys have a vision, have potential, this may be a good product, you guys need to do this, what are you planning to do? So it's always like 6-7 people who are discussing and are involved in making a decision, and so far whatever I think we decided was pretty much right. And even those teams that were clerical to get accepted, we had doubts if they will be okay. They in most cases proved that they didn't go far. But sometimes you have situation, okay, those guys are brilliant. You have situation, okay, this is bad idea that doesn't have potential, but you always have those guys in the middle. And I think the best way is to give them a chance. If they fail, well.
How do I get through this first step with you? I mean, what do you don't want to hear from somebody who's applying to as a startup to you?
One thing that startups don't appreciate is the size of addressable market, meaning how big is the potential market that they're addressing. One of the major problems, and this is not just my experience, this is actually research that we did, is that our guys think, oh, look, there's 10 million out there. If 5% is in my pocket, it's $500,000. That's a lot of money for a living person. But if you're a startup, this is nothing. I mean, how I'm going to invest in you and get the money back? If we're talking about billions as your potential addressable market, then it's a lucrative business, and there is a room for you to scale up and to grow and to have the first round, second round, third round. You know, somebody buys you out or you go to IPO. So the market that you're addressing and where you want to fit with your company needs to be really large in order to be attractive for investment. And the biggest problem is that somebody comes with some idea, and even if they're thinking about market, which is not always the case, they are underestimating how important this size of addressable market is for their services, for their product, or whatever they're into. This is a very important thing. Second important thing is that when they already have some concept or even MVP, it's important that they have idea who they're going to approach to have the first customers. It's very rare to have a significant investment without traction on the market, meaning without having the first customers. So your first customers are your lifeline. Before the first
So do I need to have sort of the first customer before I approach you?
Well, for me, yes. It's not always the case. Some people and it's not every cluster, let's put it that way. So some clusters, such as like a deep tech, meaning that something that is really down the road in the future, this is difficult to have the first customers. But we are talking about fintech, edutech, adtech, many of other clusters. You need to have the first customers. Deep tech is probably only excuse where having a first customer is quite difficult because your idea is so large and it's hard to commercially prove that, you know, people invest in some completely novel technology, but that probably means you're a borderline genius, and you know, usually people know if they're geniuses. So for rest of us, having a customer helps to get funding.
Davor, would you say that the startup scene in the region is mature now that people do understand the things we are talking now about? I mean, how to apply and what to do and what not to do specifically?
I don't know. I think, you know, yeah, we are at the beginning, and our ecosystem already exists and is growing up every day. And how to say, that's the process. We must start from beginning. I think that the only thing what we need today is a lot of investor, and that's the role which we want to play today, to give them opportunity and chance to shape up their business, to grow their potential, and just to offer them globally. And I don't know, you know, we are at the beginning and we still in the process of negotiation, and we will see what will be the final result of all this process. But I think that you know, the good thing is that we just start with all this process, because this, you know, from the 0 to 1 is the biggest way, how to say, you must pass through this. And one thing I want to say today, what is good side of CVCs and the venture fund as the TS Venture here in Serbia. From the one side, we will give them the money for shaping their process and growing up. On the other side, maybe we could connect them with the market, you know, with the potential clients to, you know, that's the product placement. Basically, you know, this approach for the selling is the hardest thing in the business. And the third thing is that we create our environment mutual with the government, with the ecosystem, with all stakeholders. And, you know, that's the mutual process where no one of these three elements, investors, startups, ecosystem, couldn't work independently. Basically, that's something what we must do together.
So would you say that we have matured in the way that it is in the West, let's say, in the United States and Western Europe?
I don't know. I don't know what to say.
I don't think so. Honestly, let's say that the size of, actually the number of startups is not enough to have several VCs present at this market. If we take just the practice that a VC looks in 100 to 200 startups before investing 3 to 4, it will take probably two, maybe even 3, not even 3 VCs to deplete our market. And this is not enough deal flow. We need to grow a number of startups to maybe 600 or 700 here in Serbia alone, and plus in surrounding area, so that 3 or 4 VCs will regularly look in our market. So several things need to happen at the same time. In order to have this number of CVs, number of startups, you need to have CVs that support them. So we need to work in parallel to grow number of startups, but also to grow availability of funding, so that these guys who risk, they have the reward and they can grow. We need to have like a inverse funnel, in a sense of we have several hundred that are at level of seed money, several tens that are at level of seed, meaning several hundred, and then 10 or so are taking some millions, and I'm talking about a year. And then every year, as you progress, you're going to get better. At some point, you will not be able to grow in the number of startups, but you will start growing in the number of the size of the rounds.
Let's get back to the startups. Drazen mentioned something, saying that some of those startups were not ready because they were not ready to give up their daily jobs, but they need to survive. So it is that, I mean, what is actually stopping startups in region to really overgrow this first problem? Like, I need to live out of something. So if I leave my job, I won't have any income. But if I don't leave my job, I won't be able to concentrate on my work. So, okay, all of 3 can answer. Sorry, Nebojsa first.
Yeah. Well, I think that we have this fear of failure. That's the biggest problem. In our world, it's not a bad badge of honor if you try 3 or 4 times and you succeed 5th, which is completely normal and which is great. Whoever tried 3 or 4 times, it's like really interesting, because he's deeply into it and he's committed. So trialing and failing is something that's pretty good. And then if you think that there are seed money out there, that you can go to Innovation Fund, that you can go to StartTech, that you can go now to Catapult, that you can get this 30, 40, 50K and buy yourself a year of not going to your daily work and trying your startup, why not do it? It all depends a lot on your personal situation and whatnot, but I think it's possible. But I think that if you do this...
It's not easy. I mean, it's risky. I mean, I may be wasting a year or 2 years of my life. I mean, doing this startup, and maybe
okay.
It is.
As a guy who ran a company that had 500 people, somebody comes to me and said, I spent the last year of my life trying to build my startup. You are an interesting candidate for me because that means that you touch the finance, you touch the product, you touch the marketing, you touch sales. You're like a Swiss Army knife. Why would not I hire you
So
after
it's
a
not,
year?
you want to say it's not wasted?
No. It's like a going to the gym.
Okay, Davor.
Yes, I think that we are playing historical role today. Why? Because I think that all of us, we must change our traditional approach, you know, of philosophy on living here in Serbia, because you know, it's not important just to finish your formal education, university, and after that you try to chase or find some secure job until the end of your life. You know, the life is risk, how to say, and the young generation, which, you know, growing up, they must be that fuel and the engine who will change the everything here in our country, economy, history, our country as a competitor. And I think that that approach of entrepreneurship is something what is the key word in our economy in next few years, because, you know, today on the one side you have traditional economy in the Europe, and on the other side you have some, you know, high-tech approach and the potential for the growing up for the poor countries are, you know. And I think that, you know, that is something what we must how to say, not just support, you know, that's something what is the most not expensive. That is something what is our potential basically for our country. And all these young people will, after their formal education, they must finish some, you know, formal education. They will stay here, you know, they will try to do something, because if they have some good idea, they will not be problem to find the money to go somewhere to ask, okay, what is the next step, what I need to do to make some good business plan and to offer this globally. And basically, definitely, this is the historical moment for Serbian economy and for our country and for all the young people who will become mature in one day, as we are.
I mean, there are stories of successful businessmen who were working their daily job, and in the night they were doing this side business that turned out to be something great. But why do you want me to quit why do you want me to quit my job?
But there is something that's also called statistics, and not many of those guys were successful. The important thing is that in US or in Western Europe or in Singapore, startup industry is an industry. And actually VC funds, they understand the concept of risk, and they are investing in very early phase. And they know that maybe 1 of 10 of their investments would be really, really good. We have, in Incubator, we have a team from Germany, which is actually financed by their mother company with €4 million for 2 years. And they're doing their development, and they know what they want to do. We have another candidate from Singapore. It's like very international team. Those guys are doing some AI/virtual reality stuff. Those guys have a PowerPoint presentation and like 10-second demo video on TikTok. They raised $7 million. Here in our region, that would be impossible, because we don't have the ecosystem, we don't have the culture, we don't have 2,000 VC funds.
Or a market,
like
or a market that can support
that. Exactly. So, and we also have this culture that you must be successful and blah, blah, blah. So if you can have a good idea and make a nice PowerPoint presentation and a super 10-second video and raise $7 million, of course you will leave your job and try to pursue that and make this $1 million business. But that can happen in mature market, and we are still here far, far away from developed and mature market, and of course it's job of all of us to make this market more mature.
You're working at a tech company. Is it a necessity now that the tech company should have this branch that deals with startups? Because that's probably where the new ideas are coming from, or most of the new ideas are coming from.
Yes and no, because it's kind of a part of our social responsibility. So basically, My company is 20, so I'm one of the founders and co-owner and CEO. So our company is 20 years old. We have almost 200 employees. We are making 10 million euro revenue. We have our internal startup that we will carve out as a separate company next year that develops data privacy software. We will also go for E-series funding next year with this company. But whatever we did, we bootstrapped. So what we earned from our customers, we invested in development of our business, because 20 years ago, there was no startup scene in Croatia. And all the guys who are even more successful than us, guys from Infobip and guys from Nanobit, Span, who was listed on stock exchange recently, then Five, that was also acquired by a foreign company from UK. So they all bootstrapped, and basically we have a lot of experience in that area, and now we can use this knowledge and experience to help those guys, those next generations, to go through this process faster and easier, and develop the business to unicorn level with less stress and in shorter time. Because Infobip exists for 15 years. All those companies in Croatia that are successful, they exist 15 years, and somebody says, oh, they are not successful and they are making tens of millions of revenue. But it's hard and long work to go to that level, and actually if we can help a good company to shorten this period from 15 years to 7 or 8 or 5 years, I think we are making a lot for the society and for the economy, either as helping them with the teaching and incubating, or with investing.
My question was basically, Nebojsa, that is presently development in the IT industry coming from startups mainly? I mean, you have plenty of them, and then the best ones are going to bring the best technology. I believe when you started in your career, the most difficult part was probably to pass the guard at some tech company to let you in. Now it's not the same thing. So, but is this development coming now from the startups, or you still have to have your own development teams within the company?
Well, you have to. I mean, if you're now talking about the scale of a big company, what is going to differentiate you from the market? It's good to go and acquire some young team that can bring you idea, but actually, in order to stay fresh at your customer, I do believe that you have to have your own R&D. It's very difficult without your R&D, especially in a time when things are changing so fast. So in order to meet the customer needs, to be able to be trusted advisor to your customer, you have to have your own in-house R&D that will follow. Startup can be a nice add-on where you actually, either acquire part of the startup, or you just bring the startup to your existing customer to try something new. I wanted to say something about our market, where we say it's small or not big enough. There is advantage to it. Everything is shallow in this area. But I talked earlier about traction. So being a shallow means that very easier than in big markets, a startup can come to reputable customer and do proof of concept with the reputable customer. Meaning that, with a big bank, a big insurance, or some medical provider, you can go and do your trial, so that when you go to the global market, you already have some big reference. I know that when we were pitching in my previous company in Canada, it was quite important and very impactful that we had a live link with a big regional bank who was a customer at the time, saying to everybody, all the potential customers in Canada, oh, we are working with these guys and they know what they're doing. So this is one thing that is good for without market. Being shallow means that you can approach big customers and get to do something with them, so that when you go to the next market, to where you go globally, you have the big reference, which is not something that the startups on more developed markets can get.
So you want to say that is an advantage for
That's
for
an
them.
advantage for startups for our market.
Davor, you're sort of the middleman between the corporate organization and those kids, or maybe not kids from the startups. So how does that work? I mean, is there an understanding, a clear understanding on the corporate side that this is inevitable, or that they need startups in order to continue?
Okay, yes, maybe I'm the middleman, but
You got to understand both sides.
yeah, basically, in my previous career, I spent more than 10 years in telco industry, and basically but on the bright side of telco industry, in traditional telco industry, today you have decrease of your traditional income, SMS services, voice call, and all other, and you need to chase all the time for some new innovation and to think how you will, secure your future. And that's why I think that from the angle of the CVC, we know what are the needs from the market, how to say, from the digital side, how to improve themselves, how to invest in some disruptive technology or something, innovative and the high technology. But on the other side, we still, how to say, that young brain will bring us something what we couldn't imagine, because that's the new generation which are presented today with good ideas. They are for me totally fascinating. They are fascinating me because I learned in my life, you have only two options. You work for someone who has idea, or has your own idea. And basically, okay, I am on the third side. I give the money for someone who could provide something for us.
I'll get back to that. Let's see if there are any questions from the audience. If anybody wants to ask something about, or maybe about his own startup, and get a good advice, because this is a great opportunity to
pitch 3 minutes.
To hear from these guys about what you do or what you don't do properly. I mean, maybe I can ask that. I mean, what is the most common wrongdoing or the proper doing of the startups, Drazen?
So most common is stubbornness. So
it's my idea, and it's going to be the way I want it. I mean, my way or no way, highway.
yes, so a lot of people just don't pivot and don't change, and don't listen to advice of experienced mentors. A lot of people believe that they are smartest guys in the world, and I think this is the main problem.
And what is the good thing that they do when you see somebody doing something and you say, "Oh, this is going to be successful"? Why?
Teamwork. So when you want to make something that is really spectacular, you need to have a good team, and usually good teams that are coming to us are still small. They are like founders, like 2, 3, 4 people, and during this period they grow to 6, 8, 10, 12 people. And guys who are making really good team, we have really good mentors who are specialists in leadership, organizational culture, and all these other soft skills and stuff, which people who are developing tech products usually don't have. When they start to build good team, this good team is then building a good product.
Nebojsa, do you think you can recognize the future angel when you see them for the first time?
You mean somebody who is going to be...
Who's going to be successful? You say, okay, this is
like
these guys...
unicorn.
You mean
Unicorns, yes.
Yeah, unicorn, the famous word. Well, you recognize the people who are living their startup. These are the people who are constantly in it. It's a difference. It's not call for them. It's not their profession. It's something that they're part of their personality. And you know, recently, actually, you mentioned Tapni. It was we were on a call after they finished the pitch, and we were discussing to invest in them or not. And one guy said, "Listen, these guys are so great that even if this idea is not good, their next idea is going to make money. So let's invest in them."
So you basically investing in people, not in the idea.
You always invest in people. This is what I was told by guys from Israel. You always invest in people, and Israel has the most company on NASDAQ after the United States. So it's a good thing, good advice to take.
Yes, maybe I have some good advice for the all startups. They must dream their dreams, to believe in themselves, to never stop hard working, because you know they must live with their idea all the day, not just to be attracted by the money or to get rich, how to say. And they must be well informed. And one key word is, you know, they must be unique on some way. The unique is shortcut than unicorn. And all other things, what they need, we will support them. We will make their dreams real as a venture fund and as a society.
And maybe one anecdote, and Davor was there, so he can confirm. You know how you know a startup from Balkans when it comes to pitch international event? So everybody usually comes out and tell you about their business. They tell you about the cost of acquisition of the customer. They showed you the numbers. Balkan startup comes out, and first 2 minutes they tell you how good engineers they are, and then the next 6 minutes they talk about their technology, and then they mention they're going to make money, and they're talking to people who are supposed to make money out of their idea, and that's not the right way to do it. So more business is needed in your thinking about startup.
Okay, can we get one microphone there? We have a question. We can keep for another 5 to 10 minutes if you're okay with that. Lunch can wait.
Yeah, thank you, Nebojsa. You point out a really important thing at the moment. My name is Anita. I'm working with startups for the last 7 years. I was part of ICT Hub as well, and quite long in this journey of just understanding the ecosystem and supporting entrepreneurs in Balkans. So what we have as occurrence is, as Nebojsa said, is a lack of marketing and sales skills in our region, and also with the change of the law for alternative funds in Serbia, we have an opportunity to attract VC funds. So the question is how to attract more VC funds, which is quite a problem, to have more funding, and how to support the talents to understand better why marketing and sales is a crucial part of entrepreneurship, not only the engineering and the product.
Okay, Drazen, would you answer first?
So basically in our incubator we have about 15 VC funds that are partnering with us. 3 are from Croatia, a lot of them are from Hungary, Poland, Bulgaria, so Central European region. And we also have some from India, UK and US. And basically, currently in Croatia, there were a lot of investments, and a lot of foreign funds are very active, and people know each other very well, and they recommend those funds to each other. So a lot of foreign funds are looking for investments here, but they need to really find places for good investments. And of course, building the skills is very important. That's what you do with mentors.
We need to be aware of 3 forces happening globally. First, Europe did something extremely stupid. They made a fund of funds, and they gave a lot of fund to other VC funds in Europe. And on our borders, there is a lot of VC funds, from Fil Rouge in Croatia to Vitosha Fund in Bulgaria, not to mention Poland and Hungary, who are even more developed. So VC funds are around. And they have a problem. They have to invest in their markets, meaning that you have to move there, which, you know, I understand if you move to Delaware, but I don't understand, meaning move your company, not physically. But so there is a lot of money coming from you. Then you have the traditional investors, such as pension funds, are including startup as a part of their investment portfolio, which was aberration just several years ago. So now everybody is investing in startups, which is another inflow of money. And then we see from all the changes in law in China in the last 6 months, also West withdrawing from Chinese investments, and there is a lot of money. So money somehow is not such a big problem. You at this point don't need money, you need smart money. So you need somebody who will open the market for you, who will help you pivot if your idea is not good, who will give you skills or connect you with people with the skills that you need in terms of marketing and sales. So the first part of your question wasn't so difficult. It just you have to be aware that you need smart, not just money. And then second part of your question is quite difficult. And it means how we attract people from humanities, from economics, from finance world, to join startups, and that we don't make it, at least in Balkans, just a tech story. Anywhere in the world, it's not a tech story. Tech guys are enablers for most of the startups. It's the business people seeing the inefficiency in the market and getting tech people to help them solve the inefficiency. And this is the puzzle that we need to solve. Of course, this is advocating. This afternoon, I'm going to one higher education place to talk to them about programs, and we are trying to do what is needed to get these people to think. What we need is also managers in the business to start recognizing what they could solve in their everyday life, and then get techies to help them. So this is going to be, I believe, big source of startups in our ecosystem. This will elevate the number of startups. But sales and marketing and digital marketing and business development and growth and product, these are all stuff that we need to work on, because this is the skills that we are sorely missing.
Any other questions? Okay, another one.
I don't have a question. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to come in straight away. I did the talk. And I'm very pleased to hear what Davor was saying. The future is on young people. We really need to hear the voice of young people, because they're going to shape our future and the world we're going to live in. So we need to democratize the process of using data and make them aware that AI is not just for STEM-orientated children who are in art. They can find new ways of expressing themselves through the use of data, etc., etc. So we really need to make that mix of different abilities and different ideas in one place. So yeah, great ideas that I've heard from the panel.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm saying something new to you guys, but data science and IE and everything else, ML, it's not even vertical in startup world. It's a horizontal, because everybody's using this. So you don't have your own vertical. Most of VC don't look this as a vertical, as something that is, separate. This is something that is coming across all the startups, and almost every startup is using this. So don't think of yourself as a vertical, but a horizontal.
I need to wrap up this, so let me have two final questions for all three of you. The first one is, if there was an interesting startup, would you be ready to join the startup at this age? I'm not being, I'm just asking, would you be ready to join, to say, I want to work in a startup?
For me, it's a question of equity. It's a question of equity, meaning, would they want me as a co-founder? Maybe I'm pricing myself high here, but yes, I would.
If you get an offer, if somebody calls you, would you?
Yes.
I'm joining the startup on March 1st next year.
You are?
Yes, that is the company that we are carving out, which is actually a startup that will raise Series A investment. And I will be one of the founders, and I will be in charge for business development. So,
at this moment, no, because I'm coming from the angle of the capital, and I think that maybe I could make some better position for some startup where I'm participating, but maybe on the other side, I'm not in the range with my ages, because I'm 39 and I don't know what is what is the range, with it. But in the next period, I think that's the future. Okay, if I could find something good and finding new, some good potential where to invest my money, Why
But
not?
Is there an age limit for a startup? No. What would you say? Nebojsa says no.
Because all of us,
you're
we are old
proving-
guys, you
I
know.
mean, most successful startups are in US are founded by people who are between 40 and 50 years old. So that's normal.
Mature people.
Yeah, and one other thing, what Nebojsa said. So basically, in our teams, we don't have almost any tech founders. So people who are founding startups who are in Bird Incubator, they are psychologists, they are sociologists, they are in linguistics, they are doctors, they are trainers in football clubs, they are microbiologists, no tech guys.
Okay, and finally, I mean, Nebojsa said something that is a very good advice, meaning that if I want to sell you my startup idea, I should start with saying, what am I selling? Not with who am I and where I come from. So it's the first thing to say, I'm selling you this. So what are the keywords that when you hear them today would ring a bell and say, I want to talk with you about this idea? Are there any keywords now that you would pick? Nebojsa?
There is always hype, and then there is also some traction that you already have in our market. If a startup comes from Serbia and they say they're doing something with gaming or blockchain, that is probably very good, good words to hear from them, because in Serbia right now there is a lot of good things happening in these two areas. So that means that they probably had exposure to this and some previous experience, because startups are always valued higher if they have somebody who already walked the path, meaning that they already have something behind them. Not necessarily being a co-founder, just being a member of a team that already succeeded means that you already have some experience, and this is valued from the side of the investors.
Thanks. Drazen.
So I suppose everybody was watching Big Bang Theory. So at some point, I don't know, one of the guys asked Sheldon, why you don't ever give me appreciation for my work? Why do you think that I'm not doing a good work? And Sheldon says, no, I think you're doing great work, but I think that what you're doing is not worth of doing. And that's the core thing that startups should have defined. So every good pitch starts with a problem and how they are solving this problem. If there is no problem, then there is no case, and there is no future, and there is no investment. So everybody who is teaching startups to pitch, they're teaching them, okay, start with the problem, then start with the solution, and then with sum all the numbers, and with the team. And actually there is one thing that we did this year in July. We brought François Mazoudier. He's one of the guys who went through several IPOs and sales and bankruptcies, and now he is teaching. And he is French, he's from London, and he did a really good education called Financing Bootcamp, and where he and his colleague are teaching startups everything about this financial world and what's important for the investors and how to pitch and what to pitch. And some of the guys who were there, like Albert Gajšak with Circuit Mess, they dramatically improved after that. So this is something that you need to learn if you want to pitch and to
But what would be a music to your ears? Just give us a keyword presently.
I think now it's something that is related to health and longevity. This is something that is super big hype, especially in states on West Coast. And the other thing that is always good is stuff related to finance and bitcoins and blockchain, crypto.
Yep.
So those two areas are super interesting now.
From the angle of the VCs, I think that the profit is the keyword. But as I have mentioned before, there is 4 keywords for all startups, no matter from which area they comes. Globally, disruptive, digital orientated, and scalable.
Guys, thank you. I hope you got plenty of advices and you heard a lot about what to do. If you're thinking about startups, you already have one. So thank you for all of this. I think we might have this diplomas for you as well. And now we have lunch until 2 o'clock, and see you at 2 o'clock in this hall again. Don't forget the gift bags.